Msts-9-44CW, commonly known as the Dash 9. The other diesel locomotives you can drive in Train Simulator are the GP38-2 and the Keehaw 31. I'll use the Dash 9 to teach you about diesel locomotives. But remember that each locomotive is different. In particular, not all diesel locomotives are as highly computerized as the Dash 9. In this lesson, I'll walk you through each of the main controls and gauges and show you how to start this train moving. As in all the tutorials in Train Simulator, I'll lock out the controls we're not using so we can focus on the task at hand. Let's get started. First, let's change to an external view so we can see the train from the outside. Follow the instructions written on the screen to change to External View 1. Well done. The Dash 9 is a diesel-electric locomotive commonly used for hauling freight. It weighs almost 200 tons and can provide a pulling force of up to 142,000 pounds. Now let's move the camera a bit to get a closer look. Let's go back inside the locomotive now. The engineer sits in the cab. Excellent. Take a moment to look left and right, but then come back to this central view, which is the view you use to move the locomotive's controls. The engine is already started, so the first thing to do is set the direction of movement of the train. You do that with the reverser. The reverser has 3 settings: forward, reverse, and neutral. Try moving the reverser to its forward position now. You can see the reverser setting on the reverser display in the computer screen. Great! Now let's look at a few more basic controls. This control is the throttle. It sets your speed. On this locomotive, pulling the throttle towards you increases the speed. Don't move the throttle now. We'll use it a bit later in this lesson. On this locomotive, the same handle that controls the throttle also controls the dynamic brakes. That's why it is called the combined power handle. You push the handle away from you to increase dynamic braking. Every time you change from adding power with the throttle to braking with the dynamic brakes, you must pause for a few seconds in the middle, at the notch marked Setup. Remember to make small changes with your throttle, particularly when you are starting a train. Some locomotives have throttles with set notches. Others allow you to move the throttle continuously. This locomotive has a notch throttle, and you can see which notch you're using in the throttle display on the computer screen just above the throttle. This is the speedometer. Some locomotives have analog speedometers with needles on their dials. Others have digital speed handle only on the locomotive. Let's look at the train brakes first. This is the train brake handle. You use it to apply and release the brakes on the whole train. This is the locomotive brake handle. You use it to apply and release brakes only on the locomotive. These are the brake gauges. When you are pulling heavy freight trains in mountainous territory such as on Marias Pass, you must be very aware of how much air pressure is available in the brake pipe and in each of the air reservoirs. For detailed information about reading the gauges, see the Train Simulator Help System. The ammeter shows how much electrical current is being used in the traction motors when you apply the throttle, or how much current is generated when you apply the dynamic brakes. During dynamic braking, the ammeter shows a negative reading. The Train Simulator Help System explains how to use the ammeter to make decisions about throttle settings when you start a train moving. Now let's look at a few of the most important buttons in the cab. First, let's try out the horn. You'll hear the bell ring too. On the Dash 9, the bell rings whenever the horn is sounded. You have to turn it off separately. Turn off the bell now. Excellent. This button controls the sander. You can drop sand onto the tracks to help the wheels grip the rails and prevent the wheels from slipping. Remember that there is a limited amount of sand on board the locomotive, so don't forget to turn the sander off. This is the alerter reset button. Only the American locomotives have these. The alerter system makes sure the engineer is alert. If you don't move any controls in the locomotive for 25 seconds, the alerter will sound and you'll see the word alerter on the screen. If this happens, press the alerter reset button. Otherwise, the train's brakes will be applied. In the real world, disabling this safety feature would be illegal. But in Train Simulator, if you prefer not to have the alerter system engaged, you can turn it off on the options screen. See the help system for instructions. Now we need to completely release the train's air brakes. Make sure to move the handle all the way towards you to the release position. Okay, we're ready to move the train. It's correct procedure to sound the horn before we move, to warn anyone around us. When you sound the horn, the bell will ring. Just leave it ringing for now. Use your horn to warn people and animals that you're approaching, or as a signal to your crew or to other trains. The help system explains various horn signals you can use. Now we're ready to move. To avoid breaking a coupler by putting too much run-out force on it, we'll start very slowly. The combined power handle is in the idle position now. Pulling it towards you accelerates. Pushing it away from you past idle begins dynamic braking. Pull it towards you now to the first notch, which is N1. That should be enough to get you started. And we're moving. Well done. Now that we're moving, you can turn off the bell. Bells are used only on the U.S. trains. Okay, now we need to keep moving slowly until we've picked up all the cars. If you want to, you can switch to External View 2 to watch the end of the train